Have you ever put on a French movie or maybe a song and just felt completely lost? If that's you, you are in the perfect place. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on spoken French. We're going to train your ear to finally pick out individual words instead of just hearing a rush of sound. Let's make it all make sense. So does this sound familiar? You're trying to listen to a native speaker, and it feels like all the words are just melting into one another, creating this beautiful but totally confusing river of sound. It's almost like they forget to breathe between words, right? You know, if you've ever thought it sounds like one long, blurry word, you are so not alone. Honestly, that's probably the number one thing I hear from learners. But here's the good news. There's a really logical reason for it. And once you get it, you can actually start to train your ear to hear things differently. All right, so let's dig into the why. And the most important thing to get right off the bat is that this isn't your fault. It's not a problem with your listening skills. It's actually a feature of the language itself. The difficulty is literally built into the rhythm of French.
Okay, first up is this concept called liaison. So think about it. In English, we say our words like separate little blocks. Our brains expect a tiny little gap between them. Well, French throws that rule out the window. A consonant at the end of a word that's usually silent, like the S in lay, will actually jump over and link up to the next word if it starts with a vowel. So les amis isn't lay, then ami. It becomes one smooth, connected sound, les amis. See that? That's the link that messes with our ears.
And then there's its partner in crime, elision. This is just another way French smooths everything out. So if a short word ends in a vowel and the next word starts with one, French just gets rid of the first vowel to avoid a clumsy stop. You'd never hear la ami. It gets smoothed into l'ami. Now, it sounds way more elegant, for sure, but for us learners, it's just one more reason words feel like they're being squished together.
So here's the big idea. It's not that French is necessarily faster than English, it's just smoother. It's more connected. Things like liaison and elision create this continuous, flowing rhythm that's totally different from the more separated, choppy sound of English. You can think of it like a song, where all the notes are beautifully connected. Our job is to learn to hear that melody.
Okay, so how do we actually learn to hear that melody? I've got a simple toolkit for you. 3 really practical tips you can start using right now. Let's get into it. Here they are. Number 1, just let go of trying to understand every single word. That's just going to stress you out. Instead, just listen for the music of it, the rhythm. Number 2, become a word detective. Hunt for the words you do know. Even if it's just bonjour or merci, those are your anchors in that river of sound. And finally, number 3, keep it short. A couple of minutes of really focused listening with a song or a news clip is way, way better than trying to watch a whole movie and just getting frustrated. All right, enough theory. Let's actually do this. We're going to run through a few quick listening drills. I'm going to say a common word or phrase slowly. I'll leave a little pause for you to repeat it, and then I'll say it at a natural speed so you can really hear that difference. You ready?
Let's kick it off with a classic. Okay, slowly. Bonjour. Your turn. Bonjour. Your turn. Now, here's how it sounds in a real conversation. Bonjour.
And here's another one you hear all the time, slowly. Ça va? You try. And now, at natural speed. Ça va?
Okay, one more for good measure. Slowly. Je suis. Your turn. In natural speed, je suis. You hear that? How the two words just kind of flow into one? That's the rhythm we're talking about. Awesome job. Now let's level up with a little mini challenge. I'm going to say a full sentence at a normal, everyday speed. Now, your goal is not to understand the whole thing. Nope. Just listen for 3 specific words. Think of it like a scavenger hunt for your ears.
Okay, ready? Here's the sentence. Just listen for your anchor words. J'aime beaucoup les vacances en France. Let's do it one more time. J'aime beaucoup les vacances en France. So, how'd that feel? Did you manage to grab any of those words as they zipped by? Hey, even if you just got one, that's a huge win. Let's see what they were. J'aime, vacances, and France. If you caught even 1 or 2 of those, seriously, give yourself a pat on the back. That is a massive victory, because this is exactly how you learn to understand a language in the real world. You grab onto the familiar words and you use them as clues to figure out the rest. You just took a giant step forward. So as we start to wrap this up, I want to leave you with one final thought that really pulls all of this together. It's all about a simple shift in how you think about listening to French. Please, remember this. The key is not to listen harder. It's to listen differently. You have to stop trying to fight the flow and just start tuning into the rhythm. Latch onto those anchor words you know, and just practice in short, consistent bursts. If you can do that, what once sounded like a blurry wall of sound will start, little by little, to become clear, distinct, and understandable words. So, the only question left is, what French song or podcast are you going to listen to first? All right, let's talk about something that drives pretty much every French learner crazy: trying to understand native speakers when they sound like they're speaking at the speed of light. You know that feeling, right? You've studied the vocab, you get the grammar, but then you listen to a real conversation and it's just a blur of sounds. It is such a common frustration. But here's what I really want you to hear. You are not alone in this, and it is absolutely not your fault. Everyone learning French hits this exact same wall. The secret, though, is that it's not actually about speed. Yeah, we call this the French speed barrier. It feels totally impossible to break through sometimes, but believe me, you can. And today we're going to show you exactly how. So this is the most important idea to get your head around. Native speakers aren't just taking the words you learned in your textbook and saying them faster. No way. They're fundamentally changing how the words actually sound. That's right. So let's stop thinking about this as a race against speed and start thinking of it like a secret code. Once you know the rules to the code, everything starts to click into place. Now, the official fancy term for this is connected speech, but all that really means is it's the secret code. It's how all the words and sounds melt together and change each other when people talk naturally. It's like a whole other language hiding in plain sight. So what are the rules of this code? Well, a few things happen all the time. Words just blend into each other. Vowels, especially unstressed ones, often just get dropped completely. Honestly, it's just easier and faster to say it that way. Sounds at the end of one word link up with the beginning of the next, which you might know as liaisons. And maybe most importantly, really common phrases get squished into these super short new forms. So our whole strategy has to change. We need to stop trying to catch every single word as it's written on a page. Instead, we're going to start training our ears to hear the new sound patterns that real spoken French actually uses. Okay, enough theory, let's actually hear it. This is where you'll really start to see what I'm talking about. Okay, let's take the classic je ne sais pas. You learn it as 4 distinct words, but you will almost never hear it like that. In a real conversation, it sounds like this: je sais pas. The ne is basically gone from everyday spoken French, and je and sais just melt into one sound: je sais pas. Here's another one you'll hear constantly, written down: il y a, meaning there is or there are. Spoken fast, it's just ya. The il part, poof, gone, just disappears. Yeah. Once you hear it, you can't unhear it. And here's a perfect example of a vowel getting dropped. You learned tu es for you are, but what you'll almost always hear is de. The oo sound just gets swallowed up and the words smashed together. Te. So simple, but if you're listening for two this will fly right past you.
You seeing this? These aren't just random mumblings. These are predictable, repeatable patterns. And the best part is, your brain is an incredible pattern recognition machine. You can totally learn to hear this stuff. Okay, so let's put your ears to the test. It's time to start training your brain to catch this code in the wild. Let's do a little listening drill. So I'm going to say a short phrase at a normal conversational speed. Don't panic. Don't try to write it down. Just listen to the sounds. Got it? Okay, here it is. Je suis fatigué.
Okay, so what you heard was je suis fatigué. And that is the super, super common, fast way of saying the full phrase, je suis fatigué, I am tired. See how je and suis got compressed into that one quick little sound, suis? Nice job. You're getting the hang of it. Let's try one more. This is a question you will hear all the time. Listen close. Qu'est-ce que tu dis?
The sound was qu'est-ce tu dis? Now this one is a brilliant example of compression. This is the fast version of the very long, very formal qu'est-ce que tu dis, which just means, what are you saying? Look at that. 4 big words get crushed down into 2 simple sounds.
See? It's not so scary once you know what you're listening for. Just by doing these 2 little drills, you've started to retune your ears. You're not listening for words anymore. You're listening for sounds. You're starting to crack the code. Okay, time to put it all together. We're going to do one final challenge. But this time, you're not just going to listen. You're going to participate. Seriously, a huge part of learning to hear these sounds is teaching your own mouth how to make them. It connects the dots in your brain. So after I say the phrase, I'm going to leave a little pause for you to say it out loud. Go for it. Okay, so the full, proper sentence is on the screen. But you're not going to say that. You're going to listen and repeat the real, fast version. Ready? Je sais pas ce qu'il y a. Let's do it one more time, a little louder. Je sais pas ce qu'il y a. And that's it. You did it. You have the key now. The big barrier isn't speed, it's a code. And you just proved you can crack it. So the only question left is, what are you going to go listen to first? All right, let's get right into it. Today we're doing a workout, but it's not for the gym, it's for your ears. If you've ever struggled to understand spoken French, if it all just kind of mushes together, well, then this is definitely for you. You know that feeling, right? You're listening to a native French speaker and everything just blurs into one long, beautiful, but completely indecipherable sound. If that sounds familiar, trust me, you are not alone. It's a universal challenge for learners, and today we're going to crack it. So, here's our game plan. First, we'll figure out what's really causing that blur. Then, we'll unlock the power of common words. After that, we'll build your listening toolkit, put it all into practice, and wrap things up with a final challenge. It's a super clear roadmap from problem to solution. Let's dive in. Okay, section 1, the blur of spoken French. Let's break down exactly why listening to French can feel like trying to catch a speeding train made of words. So here's the big secret. The problem isn't just about speed. The real difficulty, the thing that trips everybody up, is recognition. Your brain is trying so hard to catch the important words, the nouns and the verbs, that it completely misses the tiny little words that act like the glue holding the whole sentence together. So how do we fix this? That brings us to our next section, where we're going to unlock the secret weapon for better listening. And it's all about focusing on those common glue words we just talked about. And this leads us to a really crucial concept, high-frequency words. Think of these as your auditory signposts. They're the small, everyday words and phrases that show up constantly and form the basic skeleton of almost every sentence. If you can train your ear to catch these, you can get your bearings no matter how fast someone is talking. All right, time to get practical. In this section, we're going to build your listening toolkit. And don't worry, we're not going to learn hundreds of words. Nope. We're going to master the sound of just 3 incredibly powerful and common phrases. And here they are. C'est, il y a, and est-ce que. These 3 are absolutely everywhere in spoken French. Learning to instantly recognize their sound will act as an anchor, and it will dramatically improve your overall comprehension. So let's get them tuned into your ears. Now, theory is great, but practice is where the real progress happens. So now it's time to actually train your ears. I'm going to play you a few short clips. Your only job is to identify which one of our 3 key phrases you hear. That's it. Okay, here comes the first one. Don't even try to understand the whole sentence. Just listen for c'est, il y a,
or est-ce. Ready? Listen carefully. Did you get it? The sentence was, c'est une bonne idée. That c'est right at the start is your anchor. It immediately grounds you and tells your brain where you are in the sentence.
Excellent. Let's try another one. Same goal, just spot the high-frequency phrase. Ready? Let's listen.
That was il y a un problème. Hearing that il y a instantly tells you that something exists. You've just found the sentence's skeleton.
You're doing great. Okay, last one for this practice round. Focus in and see if you can pick out the phrase. What do you hear? Yes, the question was, est-ce que tu es prêt? That est-ce que at the beginning is a massive clue. It instantly tells your brain a yes or no question is coming. Fantastic. Your ear is already getting sharper. All right, you've completed the warm-up. Now it's time to level up with the final challenge. The sentences are going to be a little bit longer, but your job is exactly the same. Let's test your new skills. This sentence has a few more words in it, so your mission is to ignore the noise and just lock onto one of our 3 phrases. Challenge time. Can you spot it? And you got it. The sentence was je pense que c'est là-bas. See how c'est was kind of tucked right into the middle? That's exactly what happens in real conversation. Fantastic job spotting it. All right, this is it. Our final and most challenging clip. Take a breath, clear your mind, and just listen for that familiar sound. One more to go. Listen closely. Boom, you spotted it. Il y a beaucoup de monde ici, n'est-ce pas? That was the trickiest one, with lots of other words surrounding it, and you still picked out il y a right at the start. That is real, tangible progress. So let's recap the key takeaways. First, stop trying to catch every single word. Just listen for the common anchor phrases instead. Second, you have to practice this active listening deliberately. And third, build your confidence step by step, one phrase at a time. This technique really is your key to unlocking spoken French. You started with 3 phrases today, but there are so many more out there. So my final question for you is this. What other common words will you start listening for next? Keep training your ears, and you'll be amazed at how quickly the blur starts to clear. Thanks for joining me.
You ever listen to someone speaking French and it just sounds like a wall of sound? You're not alone. But today, we are going to crack that code. I'm going to show you a super simple but really powerful method to understand pretty much any French sentence you hear. So, let's dive right in. Right? It's a feeling every single language learner has had. You're trying your best to listen, but the words just start flying by and everything blurs into one long, confusing stream of sound. It's so frustrating. It can make you feel like you're just not getting it. But here's the thing, that's totally normal, and there's a way to get back in the driver's seat. Take a look at this sentence on the screen. Je ne comprends pas ce que tu dis parce que tu parles trop vite. You know what that means? It means I don't understand what you're saying because you're talking too fast. Huh, it literally describes the problem, right? Now, for a beginner, this might look super intimidating, but trust me, by the end of this, you're not going to see a wall anymore. You're going to see a handful of simple, easy building blocks. So what is the big solution? Well, it's time to unlock the method. It's a really straightforward technique I call the sentence breakdown method, and it's just a systematic way to turn that confusing mess of words into something that's clear, logical, and makes total sense. It's all about you taking control and breaking down the language on your own terms. And you want to know the best part? This whole powerful method is built on just 4. That's it, 4 simple, manageable steps. No crazy grammar rules to memorize right now, no endless lists of vocabulary, just 4 little actions that are seriously going to change how you listen to French. So here they are, our 4 steps. First, you isolate the sentence, just one at a time. Second, you break it down into tiny pieces. Third, you say it out loud. And fourth, the most important one, you test yourself to make it stick. Think of it like a roadmap, taking you from feeling lost to feeling totally confident. Okay, enough talk. Let's actually see the process in action. We're going to go from a whole sentence to tiny little pieces. We're going to take a real French sentence and watch it transform from a total mystery into something you completely get. Ready? Here we go. Step 1. Isolate the sentence. Our first guinea pig is Le chat dort sur la chaise. Don't even worry about what it means yet. Just focus on these 5 words. We've officially put this sentence under our microscope. And now for the fun part. Step 2. We break it down. Let's look at each piece. La means the. Easy. Chat is cat. Dort means sleeps. Sur is on. Now, la also means the.
And that's just a little peek into French grammar. La is for masculine words like chat, and la is for feminine ones. And finally, chaise is chair. So what do we have? The cat sleeps on the chair. See? It's not magic, it's just a puzzle with simple pieces.
Okay, on to step 3. You know what every single word means now. So let's say it out loud together. Le chat dort sur la chaise. Say it one more time. Feel the flow of it. You're not just reading words anymore, are you? You're speaking a complete thought in French. This is huge. It trains your ear and your mouth at the same time.
Okay, feeling good? Let's level up a little bit. We're going to try a slightly longer sentence, just to show you how this method works on anything. Our new sentence is, Nous allons au marché pour acheter des légumes. I know, it looks a bit longer, but don't worry, the process is exactly the same.
And boom, here's the breakdown. Nous is we. Allons is go. Now, ole is just a little mashup of la, and it means to the. Marché is market. Pour means to or for. Acheter is buy. Des means some, and légumes means vegetables. So even with a longer sentence, once you look at the parts, the mystery just disappears. We go to the market to buy some vegetables. Simple as that.
Let's do step 3 again. Now that you know exactly what it means, say it with me. Nous allons au marché pour acheter des légumes. Can you feel the difference? It's not just a random string of sounds anymore. It's a real idea, an idea that you can actually understand and say yourself. It's a great feeling. So we've isolated, we've broken it down, and we've said it out loud. But now for the crucial final step. We have to make it stick. This is the step that takes this knowledge from your short-term understanding and locks it into your long-term memory. This is how we make sure you don't forget all this in 5 minutes. And the secret sauce here is a concept from learning science called active recall. All that really means is you're actively pulling information out of your brain, instead of just passively looking at it again. Think of it like lifting a weight versus just looking at it. The effort is what actually builds the muscle. So here's how we do it. Step 4, test yourself. This is our mini challenge. I want you to look at the English on the screen. The cat sleeps on the chair. Now cover it up or look away and try to say the French sentence from memory. Come on, give it a try. Le chat dort sur la chaise. That little bit of struggle, that's your brain working hard to build a strong memory connection. And this really shows you why it works. Passive listening is easy, right? You hear the words, they sound familiar, but that info usually goes in one ear and right out the other. Active recall, well, it's harder. It takes some real mental effort, but that effort is exactly what forges those strong pathways in your brain that lead to real, long-lasting learning. And that's it. You've just unlocked your new superpower. Seriously, this is a method you can use for any French book you read, any movie you watch, any podcast you listen to. This isn't just a one-time trick, it's a skill that you now have. So let's do a super quick recap of the 4 steps. First, you isolate the sentence so you don't get overwhelmed. Second, you deconstruct it word by word so you can actually understand it. Third, you repeat it out loud to get comfortable with the sounds and build fluency. And fourth, you test yourself with active recall so you'll actually remember it. Simple, effective, and really, really powerful. So the next time you hear a French sentence that sounds way too fast or way too complicated, I don't want you to feel intimidated. I want you to see it as an opportunity. It's just a little puzzle, and you now have the exact tool you need to solve it. So really, the only question left is, what are you going to choose to understand next? All right, welcome. Today, we're going to hit the gym, but, not for your arms. This is a workout for your mouth, your ears, and your brain. We're going to tackle one of the most powerful and, honestly, super simple techniques for really mastering a new language. You ready to jump in? Okay, let me ask you something. You ever have that super frustrating moment? Like, you can totally understand a movie, you can read an article just fine, but then the second you have to actually speak, your mind just goes completely blank? It's that classic gap, right? Where what you can hear is miles ahead of what you can say. If that sounds familiar, hey, don't worry. You are definitely not alone, and today we are going to build the bridge to close that gap for good. So what is this magic bridge? Well, it's a technique called shadowing, and it's so simple, but it's powerful. It basically forces your mouth to finally catch up with your ears. I want you to think of it like the ultimate combo workout. You're actively listening and immediately speaking, all at once. It's designed to build real, actual fluency, and fast. So here's what we're going to do. First up, we'll break down what shadowing actually is. Then I'll show you how it's done.
After that, it's your turn. We're going to practice together. And to wrap things up, we've got a little mini challenge for you, and we'll talk about why this whole thing works so well. Sound good? Let's get to it. Okay, first things first. What exactly is shadowing? Before we jump into the workout, we got to make sure our form is perfect, right?
So shadowing is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. You literally follow a native speaker's voice, like a shadow. You listen and you repeat what they say almost instantly. The goal here isn't just to parrot the words, okay? It's about matching the rhythm, the intonation, really the whole music of the language.
It's a really simple 3-step process. Step 1, you listen, like really listen. Step 2, you immediately repeat it out loud. Don't think, just speak. And step 3, and this is the secret sauce, you try to match the sound perfectly. Remember, you're not just saying words, you're copying their music.
Okay, talk is cheap, right? It's one thing to explain it, but it's way better to actually see it. So I'm going to do a quick demo for you. For this first part, just watch and listen, see how it all comes together.
All right, here's our sentence. It's a simple one in French. Just listen to the sound and the rhythm. J'aime le chocolat. And now I repeat it immediately. J'aime le chocolat. See? The gap between hearing it and saying it is tiny. That's the whole point. That's the magic. You're building a super highway between the part of your brain that hears the language and the muscles in your mouth that need to make the sounds.
All right, you saw me do it. Now it's your turn to get in the game. This is where we start building that muscle. And hey, don't be shy. You got to say it out loud for it to work. Let's do our first reps together.
Okay, so here's how this will work. I'll say the sentence, and then you're going to repeat it right after me. Ready? Je suis étudiant. Go ahead.
Awesome. Let's try another one. This is a super useful one, by the way. Où sont les toilettes? Your turn.
Great job. You're getting it. Now, just like any good workout, we got to up the intensity just a little bit. So let's try a longer sentence, and we'll pick up the pace just a touch.
Okay, listen close. Je voudrais un café, s'il vous plaît. Now you try.
Yes, that was great. You've got the basic form down, you've done a few reps, now it's time for a little pop quiz, a mini challenge to put your new skill to the test.
All right, ready for the final rep? This one's a little longer, a little trickier, but I know you can do it. Just take a deep breath and really focus on the flow of the whole sentence. Okay, here it is. Le train arrive à la gare dans 10 minutes. All right, your turn. Give it a shot. Yes, fantastic work. Seriously, that was not an easy sentence. You did it. You are officially a shadower. So you just did the workout, you felt it, but what's actually happening inside your head when you do this? Let's wrap things up by talking about why this simple little exercise is such a game changer. Okay, so what's the secret? Well, first, it totally rewires your pronunciation and intonation. You start to sound more natural. It also forces you to listen in a completely different way. You have to be focused, which boosts your understanding. But I think the biggest thing is confidence. It builds that muscle memory in your mouth and the confidence in your brain to just speak without freezing up. And maybe the best part of all, you can do this anywhere. Seriously, on the bus, washing dishes, all you need is a pair of headphones.
And look, you don't need to block out an hour for this. Not at all. The real key is just doing it consistently. Just 5 minutes. 5 minutes a day of focused shadowing. It will make a huge difference, way faster than you'd think. So now you have this incredible tool in your language learning toolbox. You can use it with anything, podcasts, songs, your favorite movies, to finally close that gap between understanding and speaking. The possibilities are, well, pretty much endless. So the only real question left is, what are you going to learn to say next?
So, have you ever felt your head spin just trying to ask a simple question in French? Yeah, you are not alone. Well, today, we're going to fix that. We are going to completely demystify French questions and give you a super simple system to finally understand them every single time.
Okay, let's just jump right in. Think about English for a second. If you have the sentence, you speak French, how do you make it a question? Well, you just kind of raise your voice at the end, right? You speak French? Easy. So, take a guess. How many ways do you think there are to ask that same thing in French? Would you believe there are 3? Yep, 3 common ways to ask one simple question. This right here, this is what I call the French question conundrum. It trips up so many people when they're learning. But hey, don't worry about it, because by the time we're done here, this is all going to make perfect sense, I promise.
So here's our game plan.
We'll look at why it's so confusing. Then I'll give you 3 simple keys to make it all clear. We'll see how they work in real life, we'll practice listening for them, and then we'll wrap up with a little challenge for you. Sound good? Let's do this.
Okay, so how do we crack this code? Well, the secret is not about memorizing a ton of boring grammar rules. Nope, it's about seeing that there are really just 3 simple, repeatable patterns hiding in plain sight. Think of them as 3 keys that unlock any question.
And here they are, our 3 keys. First, we've got what I call the uptalk. Then there's the signal, and finally, the flip. Don't worry about the official grammar words right now. Just remember these 3 ideas: uptalk, signal, and flip. That's all you're going to need.
All right, enough talk. Let's actually see these keys in action. We're going to walk through each one step by step with some really clear examples. That way, you can see exactly how they work and, more importantly, when you should use each one.
First up, key number 1, intonation, or as we're calling it, the uptalk. This one is by far the easiest and the most common one you'll actually hear people use. You literally just take a normal sentence, don't change a single word, and just let your voice go up at the end, just like we do in English.
So, for example, the statement is, tu aimes le chocolat? You like chocolate? To make it a question, you just say, tu aimes le chocolat? You hear that little lift at the end? That's it. This is what you're going to use in casual, everyday chats with friends.
Okay, on to key number 2, ESCA, our signal. This one is just brilliant. You know why? It's like a big flashing neon sign that says, hey, a question is coming. You just pop this phrase right on the front of a regular sentence and you're done.
So, our sentence, tu aimes le chocolat, becomes est-ce que tu aimes le chocolat? See that? The rest of the sentence is exactly the same. This is your standard, neutral, can't mess it up way to ask a question. If you're ever not sure what to do, this is your safe bet.
In our last key, number 3, inversion, the flip. Now, the name might sound a little technical, but what you actually do is super simple. You take the verb and the person doing it, the pronoun, and you just flip them, swap their places. This one sounds a little more proper, a bit more formal.
So tu aimes becomes aimes-tu, and the whole question is, aimes-tu le chocolat? Now, you're mostly going to see this in books or formal writing. You might hear it in a really formal situation, but probably not when you're just chatting with someone at a cafe.
Okay, let's put it all together real quick. We've got intonation for casual, informal chats, just use your voice. We've got est-ce que for neutral, everyday questions, just add it to the front. And we have inversion for formal stuff, just flip the first 2 words. That's it. That's the whole system right there.
So now that you know what to look for, it's time to train your ear to actually hear the difference. I'm going to say a couple of questions. All you have to do is listen and tell me which of our 3 keys I'm using. Ready for a little pop quiz?
Okay, listen close. Here's the first one. What pattern is this? Où est-ce que tu habites? Let me say that one more time. Où est-ce que tu habites? Which one was that?
That was ESCA. Did you hear it? That little ESCA phrase was our big signal, that flashing neon sign telling us it was a question. Awesome job if you caught that one.
Okay, let's go again. Ready? Listen carefully. What pattern is this one? Avez-vous des frères? One more time. Avez-vous des frères?
You got it. That was inversion, our flip. Did you notice how the verb avez came before the subject vous? That's the classic flip. See? You're already starting to hear the difference. This is great.
All right, you've seen the patterns, you've heard the patterns. Now for the final piece of the puzzle, it's your turn. This is where you prove to yourself that you've totally got this.
So here is a simple statement. Elle arrive demain. It means she's arriving tomorrow. So your challenge is this. Take a second, maybe even pause, and think, how could you turn this one statement into a question using all 3 of our keys? The uptalk, the signal, and the flip.
And there they are. For an informal question, you just raise your voice. Elle arrive demain. For a neutral, standard question, you'd add the signal est-ce qu'elle arrive demain? And for a formal one, you do the flip. Arrive-t-elle demain? So you see, it's not about being confused anymore. It's about having choices. You now have 3 amazing tools, and you know exactly when to use each one. Recognizing these patterns, that's not just a grammar hack. It's one of the first big steps to really understanding and speaking French with confidence. So, what other patterns are you going to start hearing now?
All right, today we're doing something a little different. We're not actually going to teach you a new language. Nope. We're going to do something, I think, a lot more interesting. We're going to pull back the curtain and deconstruct an expert framework for how you teach one.
specifically how you teach for practical, real-world listening. So yeah, let's break down what actually makes a perfect language lesson. So let me ask you something. You ever feel this way? You spend years in a classroom learning, say, French. You know the grammar, you've memorized the vocabulary lists, but then you get on the streets of Paris and you are completely lost. You just can't connect what you're hearing to what you learned. It's a super common problem, right? And this slide, wow, it just nails why that happens. Over here, you've got textbook language. It's super clean, the pronunciation is perfect, all the rules are followed to a T. But then you look over here at real conversation, and it's messy. It's fast, it's full of slang, people are interrupting each other. I mean, there's a massive gap between these two worlds. So the big question is, how do you actually bridge that gap? Well, that's exactly what we're digging into today. We are breaking down a framework that was designed from the ground up to solve this exact problem, to get learners out of the textbook and into the real world. And here it is. This is the roadmap for the whole thing. It's a really elegant 6-step structure. You've got hook, intro, dialogue, breakdown, practice, and then the challenge. You know, each step has its own job, and it builds right on top of the last one to create this really powerful learning experience. Let's see how it works. Okay, we're going to jump right into the heart of the lesson here, the dialogue and the breakdown. This is really where the magic happens. This is the part that moves a student from just, memorizing words to actually getting how they're used in the real world. And this is so important. The foundation of the whole lesson isn't some long vocabulary list or a dry grammar rule. No, it's a short, authentic conversation, something you'd actually hear people say. And that gives you context right away, which, when you're learning a language, is pretty much everything. So, for example, a teacher might start with a simple phrase like this one. Ça te dit d'aller prendre un verre ce soir? It's casual, it's super common, and it's exactly the kind of thing you'd hear a friend say, right? It's not the stiff, formal stuff your textbook usually starts with. Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting. Look at how this breakdown works. You're not just getting a simple translation. No, they break it down line by line, so the phrase ça te dit, if you translate it literally, it means something like, that says to you, which makes zero sense, right? But what it really means is, how about? Or do you feel like? And bam! This method shows you that huge gap between literal words and what people actually mean. All right, so once you've understood the dialogue, the goal is to shift gears. We're moving from that passive knowledge into an active skill. And that's where the next two steps, practice and challenge, come into play. So a key technique they use here is something called repeat practice. The teacher says the phrase, leaves a little pause, and the student just repeats it back. Now, I know it sounds almost too simple, but trust me, it's incredibly powerful. You're not just learning with your brain anymore, you're literally building muscle memory with your mouth and your ears, getting the pronunciation and the rhythm just right. And that's the whole point, isn't it? This kind of active practice, saying the phrases out loud, is the crucial bridge that gets you from just knowing what something means to actually being able to do something with it, to use it in a real conversation. And then the whole lesson builds up to this, a mini challenge. Think of it like a low-stakes pop quiz. The instructor might ask a simple related question, like, on se retrouve où? Which means, where do we meet? This little prompt pushes the student to actually use the phrases they just practiced to come up with a real response. And that's what really cements the knowledge, using it in a practical way. Okay, so let's pull back for a second and look at the big picture. What makes this whole framework work so well? It's really this methodical, step-by-step journey that's designed for one thing and one thing only, getting you to practical fluency. And here's that path again, the whole 6 steps laid out. You start with a hook to get them interested, you introduce the context, you give them a real dialogue, then you break it down so they truly understand it, you have them practice it actively, and finally, you challenge them to use it. See? Every single step is essential, and it builds up their confidence for what comes next. So when you boil it all down, the core principles are super clear. First, context is everything. Learning phrases inside a real conversation is just way more effective than learning words on their own. Second, breaking down what things really mean beats old-school memorization every single time. Third, you absolutely have to do active practice to turn that knowledge into a skill. And finally, the whole step-by-step thing just builds confidence, so learners feel ready to tackle the real world. And that kind of leaves us with this really fascinating thought, doesn't it? This whole model of starting with a real-life example, taking it apart to see how it works, practicing the pieces, and then applying it in a challenge, could that be a universal blueprint, a key to mastering not just a language, but maybe any complex skill? It's definitely something to think about.
Hey there and welcome. Today we are going to tackle one of the biggest, most common frustrations for anyone learning French, trying to understand native speakers when they're talking a mile a minute. We're going to unlock a really powerful technique to help you do just that.
You know that feeling, right? You're listening to someone speak French, the words are just flying at you, and suddenly, poof, it all just turns into a blur of sound. It's an incredibly common experience, so you are definitely not alone.
And then what happens? Your brain just hits the brakes. It freezes up completely. You try so hard to grab onto just one word, but by the time you've even processed it, you've already missed the next 5. It is just so frustrating.
So why does this keep happening?
Well, it's something I like to call the listening overload problem, and it has everything to do with the way most of us were actually taught to listen in the first place. Think about it like this. Trying to understand every single little word, every la, de, it's like you're standing in the middle of a huge downpour trying to catch every single raindrop. It's not just hard, it's totally overwhelming.
And what's the end results of using this old method? You just feel stressed out, you get discouraged, and worst of all, you walk away feeling like you've understood absolutely nothing. It's just not a good way to learn.
But what if I told you there's a much smarter, way more effective way to listen? Because there absolutely is, and it's all about making a simple change to your focus.
Yeah, instead of trying to catch every single one of those raindrops, what if you just had to focus on the most important ones? The ones that actually tell you, hey, it's raining. That's the whole idea here.
This is what we call keyword listening. It's the art of training your ear to listen for only the most important words, the meaning words, the ones that carry the real heart of the message. So if trying to hear every word is like standing in a storm getting soaked, well then keyword listening is your umbrella. It shields you from that feeling of being overloaded and lets you focus on what actually matters.
Okay, so how does this really work in practice? Let's break down the huge difference between the old way of doing things and this new, much smarter way of listening.
I mean, this really lays it all out. On one side, you've got that stressful, super inefficient method of trying to catch every single word. And on the other, you have this smart, effective strategy of focusing only on the key words. It's a massive shift from quantity to quality. Which, of course, brings us to the big question. What exactly are these magical meaning words that we should be trying to tune our ears to find?
It's actually pretty straightforward. First, you focus on the big players, the nouns and the verbs. These are the words that tell you who or what and what's happening. Next, you listen for any important descriptive words, like adjectives and adverbs. And maybe most importantly, you have to consciously decide to just let all those tiny grammar words, the articles, the prepositions, just let them flow right past you.
All right, enough theory. Practice is really where the magic happens. So let's try this out together, right now. I'm going to say a sentence in French, and your only job is to listen for the key words. Ready for this?
Okay, here it is. Don't panic, just listen for those big, meaningful words. Le chat mange le poisson dans la cuisine. I'll say it one more time. Le chat mange le poisson dans la cuisine.
So, what did you catch? Don't even worry about the small words. What were the main ideas that popped out at you? Think about it for a second. Okay, the keywords were chat, mange, poisson, and cuisine. Cat, eats, fish, kitchen. Now notice how even if you missed every other little word, you still got the entire picture. That's just how powerful this technique really is. Excellent job. Let's move on to the next one and see how we can build on this. This one's a little different. Listen closely.
Hier, Marie a acheté une belle robe rouge. And again, hier, Marie a acheté une belle robe rouge.
All right, what were the core meaning words that you managed to pull out of that sentence? Take a moment. Who, what, when, what kind? Let's see how you did. The keywords were hier, which is yesterday, Marie a acheté, Marie bought, and belle robe rouge, beautiful red dress. See? Even without all the filler words, you know exactly what happened. You're doing awesome. So now it's time to put it all together for one final challenge. This time, I'm going to say a couple of sentences. Your mission is just to get the general story. So I want you to listen for the keywords that answer these questions. Who was involved? What happened? And where did it happen? Ready? Here's the audio clip.
Les étudiants sont arrivés en retard à la gare. Ils ont manqué le train pour Paris.
One more time for you.
Les étudiants sont arrivés en retard à la gare. Ils ont manqué le train pour Paris.
So, did you get étudiant, gare, manqué le train? Students, station, missed the train. That's the entire story. This right here is the fundamental shift you need to make in your head. Stop chasing words and start listening for meaning. By using this keyword method, you're not just listening, you're listening smarter. You're giving yourself the tools to stay calm, to stay focused, and to actually comprehend what's being said. So really, the only question left is, what French conversation are you ready to finally understand?
Okay, have you ever been listening to someone speak French, everything's going great, and then they say a long number, and your brain just shuts down? Yeah, you're not alone. But what if I told you there's a simple way to crack the code? Just stick with me for a few minutes, and you're going to be listening with a whole new level of confidence. So let's paint a picture. You're in a French bakery, it smells amazing, and the cashier says your total is 99 centimes. And your mind goes blank, right? What even was that? Well, that exact puzzle is what we are going to solve today.
You ready to do this? Here's our game plan. First, we'll look at why this is so tricky. Then, we'll crack the code behind the system. After that, we'll move on to the calendar, we'll do some listening drills to test your new skills, and we'll finish up with a final challenge. Let's go.
Okay, let's just get this out of the way. If French numbers sometimes make you want to pull your hair out, you are in very, very good company. It's a classic challenge for learners. But don't you worry, because today, we're going to turn that frustration into a superpower.
And here's the real secret. This isn't about memorizing more vocabulary. It's all about speed. It's about training your brain to hear the pattern and just get it in a split second. So today, think of this as a workout for your ears. We're going to get your brain's processing speed up to full sprint.
All right, let's dive in. We're going to start with the simple building blocks, the easy stuff, and then we're going to build our way up to those, let's say, more interesting numbers, the ones with a little more personality. First up, the easy part. The numbers from 1 to 16, like de, all the way up to C's, these are unique, you just have to learn them. But then from 17 to 19, something cool happens. You get 17, 18. You hear that pattern? It's literally 10, 7, 10, 8. What do you think comes next?
And now, the moment you've been waiting for, the weird numbers. But honestly, I don't think they're weird. They're just the ones with a little extra flair, you know? They've got a bit of history baked right into them.
Okay, this slide right here, this is your secret decoder ring. Look at this. These numbers are just simple math problems in disguise. So 70, 60, that's not some random word. It's just 60 plus 10. And 80, 80, that literally means 4 20s. It's actually a super cool leftover from an ancient counting system. Once you see the math, you can't unsee it.
So, now that you've started to crack the number code, let's put it to work in the real world. We're going to tackle something you'll hear all the time, dates on the calendar.
Now, forget everything you know about saying dates in English. In French, the formula is so simple and consistent. It's just le plus the number of the day plus the month. That's it. No first, second, or third to worry about, just the number. So, if you hear someone say, le 15 mars, your brain now knows instantly that's just the 15th of March. Simple as that. See, you're already doing it.
Okay, that's enough talk. It is time for some action. We're going to put your new skills to the test with a few quick listening drills. I'm going to say a number or a date, and your job is just to recognize it. Ready to play?
All right, here comes your first challenge. What number is this?
77.
And the answer is 77. Did you get it? 60 plus 10 plus 7. See how that math just clicks right into place? Nice work.
Okay, you're on a roll. Let's try one more number. Get ready? 92.
Boom, 92. You're totally crushing this. Remember, that's 4 20s plus 12. See? Not so scary after all, is it?
All right, time to level up. This time, listen for a date. You ready for this? Le 21 mai.
And the answer is the 21st of May. You are officially on your way to becoming a French numbers and dates master. That was awesome.
All right, it is time. Welcome to your grand finale. We're going to take everything we just learned and put it all together in a real-life scenario.
Here's how it's going to work.
I'm going to say a complete sentence in French. Your mission is just to listen for the date hidden inside it. Don't worry about any of the other words, just zoom in on that date.
Okay, you ready? Listen closely. La réunion est le 15 mars.
Did you catch it? Le 15 mars. The meeting is on the 15th of March. If you got that, give yourself a huge pat on the back. You just understood a real French sentence in real time. That is a huge win.
And really, that's the whole point. With a little practice like this, your brain slowly stops doing math problems and starts to just recognize the word. It's like unlocking a new skill in a video game. And guess what? You just unlocked it.
So, what's next for you? Your mission now is to go out into the world and listen for a French number or a date, maybe in a song, a movie, wherever you can find it, because the more you practice this, the easier it's going to get. Now go on, be a numbers ninja.
Hey there! So, have you ever been in that situation where you've studied French for ages, but then you hear a native speaker and you're completely lost? Yeah, you're definitely not alone. Today, we're going to crack the code on French accents and turn that whole frustrating experience into a pretty fun listening challenge.
So here's what we've got on tap. First, we'll get into why real-world French can feel so tough. Then, we're taking a little tour of some major accents. After that, I've got a little quiz for you. We're going to see if you can hear the difference. And we'll wrap up with a solid listening strategy you can start using, like today.
All right, first up, one language, many voices. And, this whole thing, it's a super common feeling for anyone learning a new language. You think you're getting the hang of it, you're making real progress, and then you hear someone actually speak it, and it just sounds, well, totally different.
And that's the thing, isn't it? You've put in the work, you've wrestled with grammar, you've crammed all that vocabulary, you can probably read it just fine. So what gives? Why does a casual chat in a cafe or a French-Canadian movie suddenly feel like you're hearing a totally new language?
Well, here's the big reveal. And it's good news. It's not you. It's not about your skills. That huge gap between the French you learn in a book and the French you hear on the street, it almost always boils down to one single fascinating thing: accents.
So, just to make sure we're on the same page, what even is an accent? Think of it like this. It's just a different way of pronouncing the same language. It's not wrong or incorrect, not at all. It's just a different flavor. Every language on Earth has them, and French has this incredible range of them.
Okay, now for the really cool part, a tour of accents. Because, talking about it is one thing, but to really get it, you've got to hear it. So we're going to listen to the very same sentence spoken in a couple of different ways. And this is actually a super powerful way to learn. See, by using the exact same sentence, we take the words out of the equation. This lets your brain focus only on the sound, the rhythm, the melody, those little differences in the vowels. It's the perfect way to train your ear. Okay, so we need a starting point, right? Our baseline is going to be that standard Parisian French. This is probably the one you're most familiar with. It's what you hear in most textbooks and language apps. Kind of the default setting, if you will. All right, first let's listen to the standard version. Sounds pretty familiar, right? Now get ready for the same sentence, but this time with a Southern French accent. Listen to this. Whoa, hear that? It's got that almost musical, kind of sing-songy vibe to it. That's classic Southern France. And did you catch how the E at the end of passe was pronounced? That's a huge clue, because it's usually silent in the standard version. Okay, next stop, we're hopping across the Atlantic. We're headed to Quebec, Canada, for a totally different kind of French. Seriously, get ready, because this one sounds really unique. So, just to refresh your memory, here is the standard again. Okay? Got it? Now, listen to the Quebecois version. Wow, that's a big jump, isn't it? The vowels are totally different. Way more open, sometimes more nasal. And what's really cool is that some of those sounds are actually a throwback to how French was spoken way back in the 17th century. Also, listen for the T and D sounds. They get softer, turning into almost a ts or diz sound. Really, really distinct. All right, so you've heard the main contenders. Your ear is warmed up. Now it's your turn to play. I'm going to play a brand new clip, and all you have to do is tell me which accent you're hearing.
You ready? Listen up. Okay, what's your guess? Go ahead, lock it in.
And the answer is Southern French. If you got that, nice one. You totally nailed it. The biggest clues were that musical up and down rhythm and the way those final syllables get pronounced. It just goes to show you, sometimes the music of the language tells you as much as the words do.
Hey, no worries if you missed that one. You've got another chance right now. Let's try one more. Here we go. Listen close.
All right, what did that one sound like to you?
That time you were hearing Quebecois French. The giveaway clues were those softer T and D sounds we talked about, and of course those vowels that sound so different from what you'd hear in Europe. Awesome job.
Okay, so this little game is fun, but what's the real point? How does this actually help you when you're trying to have a real conversation? Well, let's turn this into a super practical strategy that you can use with any accent you come across.
It's a really simple 3-step plan. Step 1. Stop trying to understand every single word. Seriously, just listen for the overall rhythm, the music of what's being said. Step 2. Really zoom in on the vowel sounds. Do they sound like you expect them to? Just noticing the difference can give you major clues. And step 3, this is the most important one. Don't panic. It is totally fine if you don't get 100%. Just aim for the general idea, the gist of it.
Okay, want to give it a shot? I'm going to play one last clip. It's a little longer this time, but forget about naming the accent. Just use our new strategy. Listen for the rhythm, pay attention to the vowels, and see if you can just catch the main idea. Ready? Here it is.
So, let's bring it all home. What's the key takeaway here? Look, the goal isn't to make you an expert on French dialects in a few minutes. The real goal is to change how you think about it, to shift from feeling frustrated about what you don't understand to getting curious and excited about the new sounds you do hear.
So, a few things to keep in your back pocket. 1. Accents are natural. They're not wrong, they're just different. 2. That trick we used, comparing the same sentence, is an amazing tool for training your ear. 3. Active listening is a skill you can build. And 4. The absolute best way to improve is just exposure. The more French you listen to from all over the world, the easier it'll get. It's that simple.
You know, the French-speaking world is huge. We're talking accents from Europe, Africa, the Caribbean, and beyond. So the real question isn't, can I understand everything right now? The better question is, which accent are you going to go listen for next?